All right, let's jump right in. Today we're taking a deep dive into Xi'an, China.
Sounds exciting.
It is. And to guide us on this journey, we've got some pretty interesting sources in front of us.
Okay.
We've got a glimpse into FlightNHotels.com. Sounds like some kind of travel booking platform.
Gotcha.
And we've also got this promotional piece about Xi'an itself. Looks pretty in-depth.
Okay, cool.
So let's see what we can unearth about this fascinating city. You ready?
Definite. Ready when you are.
Okay. So first things first, Xi'an, not just any city.
Oh, absolutely not. This
Yeah.
place is steeped in history.
Like how much history are we talking here?
Well, get this. Xi'an was the ancient capital for a whopping 13 dynasties.
13. Whoa.
Yeah. And it was also the eastern starting point of the Silk Road.
Oh, wow, the Silk Road. So we're talking like major historical crossroads here.
Exactly. Think about it. Emperors, traders, travelers from all over the world, all converging on this one spot.
So walking those streets today, you're basically walking in their footsteps.
Pretty much. And the source we have here describes Xi'an as an open-air museum. Like, history's just all around you.
I love that description. Makes me feel like I'm already there.
Me too.
Okay, so before we completely lose ourselves in ancient times,
Right.
let's talk logistics. How do we even get to this amazing place?
Yeah, good point.
We've got this FlightNHotels.com in front of us. What can you tell me about it?
So, from what I'm seeing, it looks like your typical travel booking website.
Okay.
You know, the usual stuff, booking flights, comparing hotel deals, all that.
Right, right.
But they also highlight the possibility of finding discounts.
Ooh, discounts. Always a good thing.
Definitely, especially for travelers on a budget.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually used similar sites before.
Have you?
Yeah, but I've had kind of mixed results, honestly.
How's...
Well, sometimes you find a great deal,
Right.
but other times it's like you spend hours clicking around, and the price is the same as booking directly.
I see, yeah. It definitely can be hit or miss sometimes.
Yeah, totally. So, you know what? Instead of getting bogged down in booking details right now,
Right.
let's jump into what actually awaits us in Xi'an.
Let's do it.
This promotional piece seems packed with must-see attractions.
Oh, it is. Some really impressive stuff.
I'm ready to be impressed. Where should we start?
Well, we can't talk about Xi'an without mentioning the Terracotta Army.
Oh, yeah, the Terracotta Army. Now, that's something I've always wanted to see.
It's truly one of a kind. Imagine thousands of these life-sized clay soldiers.
Thousands. Wow.
Yeah, and each one with unique features, all buried to protect an emperor in the afterlife.
Wait, which emperor was this?
That would be Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China.
Qin Shi Huang, got it.
He was obsessed with immortality, believed these terracotta warriors would protect him in the afterlife.
Wow, the scale of that project is just mind-boggling.
It really is. And the artistry involved in creating each soldier is incredible.
It's amazing. And to think they were hidden underground for centuries, then rediscovered by accident.
Right, it just adds to the mystery and intrigue.
It totally does.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling the Terracotta Army is just the beginning, right?
Oh, you are absolutely right. Xi'an has so much more to offer.
Okay, so what else is on the must-see list?
Well, after you've marveled at the Terracotta Army, how about taking a stroll along the top of the Xi'an City Wall?
The city wall. Tell me more.
It's a remarkably well-preserved structure, dates back to the 14th century.
14th century, wow.
Yeah, imagine walking along those ramparts, looking out over the city.
Oh, I can picture it. It must be incredible.
It is. You really feel the history beneath your feet.
Okay, so we've got ancient armies and imposing city walls. What else?
How about a bit of tranquility and architectural beauty?
Sounds good to me.
We could visit the Big Wild Goose Pagoda.
The Wild Goose Pagoda.
Yeah, it's a stunning example of Buddhist architecture, been standing for over 1,300 years.
Wow, 1,300 years. That's amazing.
It is, and it's said to have been built to house Buddhist scriptures brought back from India
Really? By who?
by a famous monk named Xuanzang. Xuanzang. Okay, I'll have to look him up later.
It's definitely worth reading about.
So let's see. We've got ancient armies, city walls, spiritual pagodas.
Right.
What else does this incredible city have in store for us?
Well, for something completely different, we could head to the Muslim Quarter.
The Muslim Quarter.
Yeah, it's a bustling, vibrant neighborhood with a rich history and culture all its own.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Imagine wandering through narrow streets filled with the aromas of spices and street food.
Ooh, street food, yes.
You'll discover hidden courtyards, mosques. It's a side of Xi'an that's both ancient and incredibly alive.
I'm definitely adding that to my list.
Yeah.
Okay, so ancient wonders, cultural immersion, anything else?
Well, for anyone wanting to really dive deep into the region's past,
Yeah.
there's the Shaanxi History Museum,
The Shaanxi History Museum. Okay, got
a
it.
treasure trove for history buffs.
Okay. Ancient wonders, cultural immersion, a museum for the history lovers. Anything for the adventure seekers out there.
Actually, yes. There's Mount Huashan.
Mount Huashan. Yeah, it's known for its stunning scenery and its pretty intense hiking trails.
Intense in what way?
Well, let's just say some of them are pretty steep, maybe even a little terrifying for some.
Ooh, sounds like a challenge.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
But the views from the top are supposed to be breathtaking.
I'm starting to feel like I need to book a ticket to Xi'an right now. So much to see and do.
I know, right? But before you book that ticket,
Yeah.
we have to talk about the food.
Oh, yes. The food. Tell me everything.
Xi'an is a foodie's paradise. You won't believe the culinary delights they have there.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are we talking about here?
Well, first of all, we have to mention Yangru Pomo.
Younger Palma, what's that?
It's a hearty lamb soup, perfect for a chilly evening.
Ooh, I love a good soup.
And it's been a local favorite for centuries, made with crumbled flatbread, tender lamb, and a rich, flavorful broth.
Wow, young group Palmo. That sounds incredible. What else is on this culinary must-try list?
How about bong noodles?
Yan Bong Noodles. That's a fun name.
It is. It's actually an onomatopoeia for the sound the noodles make when they're being made.
Really?
Yeah. And they're these incredibly wide hand-pulled noodles, known for their chewy texture and spicy sauce.
Buying noodles. Okay, I'm adding that to my list. Chewy noodles and spicy sauce. I'm in. What else?
You can't go to Xi'an without trying rujiamo.
Rujiamo.
It's often called the Chinese hamburger.
Oh, interesting.
It's basically a flatbread sandwich filled with slow-cooked, flavorful meat.
Simple but delicious. I like it.
Exactly. But you know what really caught my eye in this promotional piece?
What's that?
The dumpling banquets.
Dumpling banquets. Tell me more.
Imagine a whole banquet with all kinds of different dumplings.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a dream come true.
Right. Dumplings are a big part of Xi'an's culinary culture, and they come in all sorts of flavors and fillings.
Okay, we have to stop talking about food now or I'm going to get way too hungry. Seriously, though, Xi'an's culinary scene sounds amazing.
It is. It's like a perfect blend of history, culture, and culinary artistry, all in one place.
You said it. And speaking of culture, there are a few things to keep in mind when planning a trip to Xi'an.
Oh, right. Practicalities are important, too.
Exactly. So, what are some things travelers should be aware of before they go?
Well, the source mentions a few key points. First, brushing up on some basic Mandarin phrases can be really helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. Even just a few basic phrases can go a long way.
Definitely. And on a more practical level, it's important to be aware of payment methods in China.
Okay, what do we need to know about that?
Well, while credit cards are becoming more widely accepted, mobile payment apps are still the dominant form of payment there.
Like what kind of apps?
Things like WeChat Pay and Alipay.
Oh yeah, I've heard about those. So should travelers set up one of those apps before they go?
It's definitely a good idea, especially if you plan on exploring local markets or smaller shops.
Makes sense. So having a local payment app can make things a lot easier.
Exactly. But it's also a good idea to have some cash on hand, just in case.
Right, just in case you run into any places that don't accept the apps.
Exactly. And one more important tip, especially if you're visiting during peak season,
Okay.
plan ahead and book tickets for popular attractions in advance.
It's like the Terracotta Army, I imagine.
Exactly. It draws huge crowds. Tickets can sell out quickly.
So it's better to be safe than sorry and book those tickets beforehand.
Exactly. It'll save you a lot of hassle and potential disappointment.
Agreed. Now, I think it's so fascinating how Xi'an manages to blend ancient history with modern life.
It really is a unique mix.
It is. What do you think is the most compelling example of that?
That's a good question.
It's a tough one. There's so many to choose from.
I know, right? What about for you? What struck you as the most interesting example?
Well, I think the contrast between the bustling energy of the Muslim Quarter with its traditional architecture and cuisine
Right?
and the backdrop of the modern city skyline, that's a pretty striking image.
I see what you mean. It's like two worlds coexisting, but somehow in perfect harmony.
Exactly. And it really speaks to the unique character of Xi'an, this city that reveres its past while embracing the future.
You've put it perfectly. It's a city that seems to have it all.
It really does. So let's say someone's listening to this, and they're now convinced that Xi'an needs to be on their travel bucket list.
Okay.
What's the one piece of advice we'd give them based on everything we've learned?
That's a good one. I think I'd say embrace the unexpected.
Embrace the unexpected. Okay.
Xi'an is a city full of surprises.
Right.
And sometimes the most memorable moments happen when you venture off the beaten path.
I love that. And it's so true. Some of my favorite travel memories have come from those spontaneous moments of discovery.
Exactly. And on a more practical note, I'd reiterate the importance of planning ahead.
Yeah, especially when it comes to those popular attractions.
Exactly. A little bit of planning can make a big difference in ensuring a smooth and enjoyable trip.
Couldn't agree more. All right, before we let our listeners go,
Okay.
let's do a quick recap of the absolute must-sees in Xi'an.
The experiences that would make someone say, I truly experienced Xi'an.
Exactly. So what are those top experiences?
Well, the Terracotta Army is an obvious one. It's a site that simply can't be missed.
Agreed. Thousands of those life-size clay warriors. It's just incredible.
It's a powerful reminder of the grandeur and ambition of ancient China, something that will stay with you long after you've left Xi'an.
For sure. And to experience the city's history from a different perspective,
Right.
a walk along the top of the Xi'an City Wall is a must.
Absolutely. Those panoramic views, feeling the breeze in your hair, knowing you're walking in the footsteps of emperors and warriors.
Chills. It's like a tangible link to the past.
It is. And for a dose of tranquility and architectural beauty, the Big Wild Goose Pagoda is a must visit.
The Big Wild Goose Pagoda, yeah.
Yeah.
A place where you can really feel weight of history and the enduring power of faith.
Exactly. And of course, no trip to Xi'an would be complete without immersing yourself in the vibrant energy of the Muslim Quarter.
Oh, the Muslim Quarter, with all those amazing aromas and hidden courtyards.
A feast for the senses.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the Shaanxi History Museum, for those who want to really delve deep into the region's fascinating past.
Right, the perfect place for history buffs.
And for the adventure seekers out there, a hike up Mount Huashan is an experience that will test your limits and reward you with those breathtaking views.
We've covered so much ground today, from ancient wonders to modern delights.
I know, right? I'm starting to feel a serious case of wanderlust.
Me too.
But hey, that's the beauty of these deep dives.
Right.
We can explore the world from the comfort of our own homes.
Exactly. But seriously, folks, if you ever get the chance to visit Xi'an, don't hesitate.
Don't even think twice.
It's a city that will captivate your imagination and leave you with lasting memories.
Well said. Now, as we wrap up our journey to Xi'an,
Okay.
I have one final thought-provoking question for our listeners.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
If you had the opportunity to experience just one of these incredible attractions in Xi'an, which would it be and why?
What calls to your sense of adventure, your curiosity, or maybe your desire to connect with history? It's a tough choice. They all sound so amazing. But if I had to pick just one,
Yeah.
I think I'd go with the Xi'an City Wall.
Really? The city wall. Why that one?
Well, I've always been fascinated by ancient fortifications, and the idea of walking along the top of this massive wall, taking in those panoramic views,
Yeah.
imagining the battles and sieges it's witnessed. It just gives me chills. Plus, I love the idea of getting some exercise while soaking up the history.
I can see the appeal. It's a unique perspective on the city, both ancient and modern, all laid out before you. Must be quite a feeling to stand on those ramparts, knowing you're walking in the footsteps of history.
Exactly. It's like a tangible link to the past. But honestly, I think any of these attractions would be incredible to experience.
Oh, absolutely. The Terracotta Army, the big Wild Goose Pagoda, the Muslim Quarter. Xi'an just seems like a city that has something for everyone.
It truly does. And that's what makes it such a compelling destination.
Well said. Whether you're a history buff, a foodie, an adventure seeker, or just someone who loves to immerse themselves in different cultures.
Xi'an has something to offer.
It sounds like Xi'an is a city that will captivate your imagination and leave you with lasting memories.
Absolutely. And hopefully our deep dive has inspired our listeners to add Xi'an to their travel bucket lists.
I'm sure it has. I know I'm already dreaming of exploring those ancient streets and indulging in all that delicious food.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll be sharing our own personal Xi'an adventures with our listeners.
That would be fantastic. Until then, folks, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those deep dive suggestions coming.
We'll see you next time for another exciting journey into the world of knowledge and discovery.
Yeah, you're right, practicalities. Before we get too carried away,
Yeah, good point.
what are some things that travelers should know before heading to Xi'an? Anything we should keep in mind?
Well, the source mentions a couple of things that are definitely worth noting.
Yep.
Like, for one, brushing up on some basic Mandarin phrases can be really helpful.
Oh, yeah. definitely. Even if it's just a few greetings, I've always found that it makes a big difference when you're traveling.
It shows you're making an effort, you
Yeah,
know? Plus, it can lead to some really cool interactions with locals.
totally. Makes you
Uh,
feel more connected to the place, right?
Absolutely. And on a more practical level,
Right.
it's important to be aware of the payment methods in China.
Oh, right. Yeah. I've heard about that. What's the deal there?
Well, credit cards are becoming more widely accepted, but mobile payment apps are still the main way to pay.
Like those QR code things I've seen.
Yeah, exactly. Apps like WeChat Pay and Alipay are super common.
So should travelers set up one of those apps before they go?
It's definitely a good idea, especially if you're planning on hitting up the local markets or smaller shops.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it can make transactions a lot smoother,
Got it.
but it's also smart to have some cash on hand, just in case.
Right. Yeah, good point. Always good to have a backup plan.
Exactly. Oh, and one more thing, especially for those visiting during peak season,
Yeah.
plan ahead and book tickets for popular attractions in advance.
Oh, like the Terracotta Army, I imagine?
Precisely. It's a major tourist draw, so tickets can sell out fast.
I can only imagine the lines to get in there.
Oh, yeah, it can get pretty crazy. So booking in advance can save you a lot of hassle.
Good to know. So we've talked about all these amazing things to see and do in Xi'an.
Yeah, it's an incredible place.
It is. But what I find really fascinating is how this city manages to blend ancient history with modern life.
Right. It's a really unique balance.
It is. Like, what's the most striking example of that, do you think?
That's a good question. What about for you? What stood out to you the most?
Well, I think the contrast between the energy of the Muslim Quarter
Right.
with all its traditional architecture and, the smells of the street food,
Yeah.
and then you have this backdrop of the modern city skyline.
Yeah.
It's quite a sight.
I see what you mean. It's like these two worlds existing side by side, but it just works.
It does. And it speaks to the character of Jin, a city that honors its past, but is also looking toward the future.
Yeah, perfectly said. So, all right, let's say someone's listening to this and they're convinced.
They're ready to book that ticket.
Exactly. What's the one piece of advice based on everything we've learned that we would give them?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Ah,
So much good advice to give.
it is. What about you? What would be your top tip?
Well, I think I would say embrace the unexpected.
Embrace the unexpected. I like that.
Xi'an is a city full of surprises, right?
It is.
And sometimes the best travel memories come from those moments where you just go with the flow.
Absolutely. When you step outside of your comfort zone, you never know what you might discover.
That's so true.
Hmm.
Some of my favorite travel experiences have been those spontaneous adventures.
Me too.
Yeah.
And on a more practical note, I
Go.
think it's worth reiterating the importance of planning ahead.
Oh, yeah, especially for those big attractions.
Yeah.
Exactly. A little planning can go a long way in making your trip smoother and more enjoyable.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
All right, before we wrap things up,
Okay.
let's do a quick rundown of the absolute must-sees in Xi'an.
The things that will make you say, I truly experienced Xi'an, right?
Exactly. So what are those top experiences?
Well, first and foremost, you got to see the Terracotta Army.
Oh, yeah. No trip to Xi'an is complete without that.
It's just one of those sites that you have to see to believe.
It really is. It's a powerful reminder of ancient China, something that will stick with you long after you've left.
Absolutely. And to experience the city's history from a different angle,
Yeah.
a walk along the top of the Xi'an City Wall
Yeah.
is a must.
Ah, the city wall with those amazing views.
Exactly. Imagine taking in those panoramic views, feeling the breeze, knowing you're walking in the footsteps of history.
Gives me chills just thinking about it. It's like a direct connection to the past.
It is. And for a dose of tranquility and architectural beauty, the big Wild Goose Pagoda should be on your list.
The big Wild Goose Pagoda, yeah. A place where you can really feel the weight of history and the power of faith.
It's a special place for sure. And of course, no trip to Xi'an would be complete without experiencing the vibrant energy of the Muslim Quarter.
Oh, the Muslim Quarter. The sights, the sounds, the smells. It's a sensory overload in the best way possible.
It really is. And let's not forget the Shaanxi History Museum for those who want to delve even deeper into the region's past.
Yeah, the perfect spot for the history buffs out there.
Right. And for those seeking a bit of adventure, a hike up Mount Huashan will definitely get your heart pumping.
Mount Huashan. Breathtaking views and a physical challenge. What more could you ask for?
It's quite the experience, that's for sure. Man, we've covered a lot of ground today.
I know, right? From ancient wonders to modern delights, Xi'an seems to have it all.
It really does. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a serious case of wanderlust right now.
Me too. But hey, that's the beauty of these deep dives.
Yeah.
We can explore the world from right where we are.
Exactly. But folks, if you ever get the chance to experience Xi'an for yourselves, do it.
Don't hesitate.
It's a city that will capture your imagination and leave you with memories that will last a lifetime.
Well said. And now, as we wrap up our exploration of Xi'an,
Okay.
I have one final thought-provoking question for our listeners.
I love a good thought-provoking question. What is it?
If you had the opportunity to experience just one of these amazing attractions in Xi'an,
Just one?
which would it be and why? What speaks to you the most? Your sense of adventure, your curiosity, that desire to connect with history?
Ooh, that's a tough one. They all sound so incredible, but if I had to choose, I think I'd go with the Xi'an City Wall.
The city wall, why that one?
Well, I've always had a fascination with ancient fortifications, and the
Yeah.
thought of walking along the top of this massive wall, taking in those panoramic city views, imagining all the history it's seen,
I can see it.
it just gives me chills. And I love the idea of getting a bit of exercise while I soak up all that history.
I get it. It's a unique way to see the city, both the ancient and the modern, all laid out in front of you.
It is. It must be quite a feeling to stand on those ramparts, knowing that you're walking in the footsteps of, well, history.
It's like a living connection to the past.
Exactly. But honestly, I think any of these attractions would be an amazing experience.
Oh, absolutely. The Terracotta Army, the big Wild Goose Pagoda,
Mm-hmm.
the Muslim Quarter Xi'an really does have something for everyone.
It does. That's what makes it such a special destination.
Well said. Whether you're a history buff, a foodie, an adventure seeker, or just someone who loves experiencing different cultures.
Xi'an has something to offer you.
It sounds like Xi'an is one of those places that will stay with you long after you've left.
It is. And hopefully our little deep dive today has inspired our listeners to consider adding Xi'an to their travel bucket list.
I'm sure it has. I know I'm already dreaming of wandering those ancient streets and trying all the delicious food.
And hey, who knows, maybe one day we'll be sharing our own Xi'an adventures with our listeners.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Until then, folks, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep sending us your deep dive suggestions.
We'll be back next time for another exciting journey into the world of knowledge and discovery.
See you then.
It's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
They all sound incredible, but if I had to pick just one,
Yeah.
I think I'd go with the Xi'an City Wall.
Really? The city wall. Why that one?
Well, I've always been fascinated by those ancient fortifications,
Yeah.
And the thought of walking along the top of this massive wall, taking in those panoramic city views,
Oh, yeah.
imagining all the history it's seen, it just gives me chills, and I love the idea of getting a bit of exercise while I soak up all that history.
I can see the appeal.
Yeah.
It's such a unique way to see the city, both the ancient and the modern,
Right.
all laid out in front of you.
It is. It must be quite a feeling to stand on those ramparts knowing that you're walking in the footsteps of, well, history.
It's like a living connection to the past.
Exactly. But honestly, I think any of these attractions would be an amazing experience.
Oh, absolutely. The Terracotta Army, the big Wild Goose Pagoda, the Muslim Quarter. Xi'an really does have something for everyone.
It does. That's what makes it such a special destination.
Well said. Whether you're a history buff, a foodie, an adventure seeker, or just someone who loves experiencing different cultures.
Xi'an has something to offer you.
It sounds like Xi'an is one of those places that will stay with you long after you've left.
It is. And hopefully our little deep dive today has inspired our listeners to consider adding Xi'an to their travel bucket lists.
I'm sure it has. I know I'm already dreaming of wandering those ancient streets and trying all the delicious food.
And hey, who knows? Maybe one day we'll be sharing our own Xi'an adventures with our listeners.
That would be amazing. Until then, folks, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep sending us your deep dive suggestions.
We'll be back next time for another exciting journey into the world of knowledge and discovery.
See you then.